Hi guys, it's Miss H here. We are going over the Analyzing Structure and Elements of Poetry quiz. This is actually a poem that I really like. It's quite funny. It's called Father William. It's by Lewis Carroll, and it was written, he lived from 1832 to 1898. So this is a poem from the 1800s. It says, "You are old, Father William," the young man said, "and your hair has become very white, and yet you incessantly stand on your head. Do you think at your age it is right?" "In my youth," Father William replied to his son, "I feared it might injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly sure I have none, why, I do it again and again." "You are old," said the youth, "as I mentioned before, and have grown most uncommonly fat. Yet you turned a back somersault in at the door. Pray, what is the reason of that?" "In my youth," said the sage, as he shook his gray locks, "I kept all my limbs very supple. By the use of this ointment, 1 shilling the box. Allow me to sell you a couple." "You are old," said the youth, "and your jaws are too weak for anything tougher than suet. Yet you finished the goose with the bones and the beak. Pray, how did you manage to do it?" "In my youth," said his father, "I took to the law, and argued each case with my wife, and the muscular strength which it gave to my jaw has lasted the rest of my life." "You are old," said the youth. "One would hardly suppose that your eye was as steady as ever. Yet you balance an eel on the end of your nose. What made you so awfully clever?" "I've answered 3 questions, and that is enough," said his father. "Don't give yourself airs. Do you think I can listen all day to such stuff? Be off, or I'll kick you downstairs." Click next. So is the poem Father William is what? Is this a conversation between a wise father and his conceited son? An explanation of how hard it is getting older? A warning from a concerned father to a foolish son? Or a message from a wise old man about aging? Well, if you look through, it does say, especially in the end here, if you go down to the last couple stanzas, it does say his father. So you find out it's not just Father William, it's actually his father. I know they called him a youth at points, but at the end they also say son. There's another spot where it actually called him son. So it actually is between a father and son, right? And the father being wise and the son kind of being conceited, right? Kind of full of himself, kind of has a little bit of an attitude. So the best option for that one is a conversation between a wise father and his conceited son. Click next. What rhyme scheme is the same from stanza to stanza? What is the rhyme scheme of this poem? So I know we talked about this earlier this year. You can give each line a letter, right? "You are old, Father William," the young man said. So that's going to be an A, where we start with the first letter of the alphabet. If the next line rhymes, it would also get an A. If it doesn't rhyme, we're going to go to the letter B. "And your hair has become very white." Well, said and white don't rhyme, so we're going to go to the letter B. Now, if this line rhymes with A or B, the last word in A or B, then we would add an A or B. Otherwise, we would go to C. "And yet you incessantly stand on your head." Well, head and said rhyme, so this one would get a letter A. "Do you think at your age it is right?" Right and white rhyme, so this would be a letter B. So our rhyme scheme is A, B, A, B. So we have A, A, B, B, A, B, C, B, A, B, A, B. That's the one we want. Click done and next. The images in this poem suggest that Father William is what? A man who is not as fit as the young man thinks, a fat, weak, older man, a fat but lively older man, or a man who is not as old as the young man thinks. Well, physically, remember, we know that he has white hair. He says he doesn't have much of a brain because he makes kind of silly or crazy choices there. It does say in this stanza that he's uncommonly fat. So we could say, is he fat and weak or fat but lively? Well, if he's still spinning on his head, right, and doing somersaults, I would not call him weak. I would say that's pretty lively. So the best answer here being he has become fat, but he is still lively. Click next. Listen to the first stanza. What can you tell about the young man's attitude toward Father William? You are old, Father William, the young man said, and your hair has become very white, and yet you incessantly stand on your head. Do you think at your age this is right? So does it seem like the boy thinks Father William's going to hurt himself, that he thinks Father William's too old to be doing what he does, that he shouldn't be allowed to have fun, or that he has a lot of respect for what Father William does? Well, he's saying, you're too old for this. Do you think at your age that you should be doing these kinds of things? He doesn't seem really as concerned he's going to get hurt, but more like at your age, is this, really safe and good for you to be doing? So the best choice being is he's too old to be doing what he is. At your age, do you think that this is really okay? Click next. The way that Father William responds in stanza 2 shows what? For some reason my video cut out, but that's all right because you can still hear me. He responds with, in my youth, Father William replied to his son, I feared it might injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly sure I have none, why I do it again and again. Shh, Mommy's working. I will open it. Please be quiet. So does that tell us that Father William likes to show off? That he doesn't take himself too seriously? That he's foolish with his health? Or that he was once an athlete? So he's saying here, once upon a time I thought it might injure my brain, but now I'm pretty sure I don't even have one, right? So I'm just going to keep doing it over and over. So to me, that shows that, he doesn't take himself too seriously, right? He's making light of the situation. I thought it might hurt my brain, but I don't know if I even have one. So he doesn't take himself too seriously. He's quite lively and fun. So reread stanzas 3 and 4. And this says the line, allow me to sell you a couple, suggests that Father William thinks what? So looking at stanzas 3 and 4. You are old, said the youth, as I mentioned before, and have grown most uncommonly fat. Yet you turned a back somersault in at the door. Pray, what is the reason of that? In my youth, said the sage, as he shook his gray locks, I kept all my limbs very supple. By the use of this ointment, 1 shilling the box. Allow me to sell you a couple? So he's kind of saying, I use this ointment and it's kept me in this really good shape. Do you want some? So he's kind of like calling him out, like, do you maybe need some of this so you can be in as good a shape as I'm in? So does he think he's more fit than the young man, more sensible, that the young man is too serious, that the young man's very wealthy? Well, like we said, he kind of thinks maybe the young man would like his ointment so he can be in as good a shape as, he is. Click next. Which best describes Father William's response in stanzas 5 and 6? You are old, said the youth, and your jaws are too weak for anything tougher than suet, that you finished the goose with the bones and the beak. Pray, how did you manage to do it? And my youth, said his father, I took to the law and argued each case with my wife, and the muscular strength which it gave to my jaw has lasted the rest of my life. So is he offering wisdom to his son in form of suggestion? Is he providing a logical reason for why he can eat a bird's beak? Is he making a joke that his jaws are strong from arguing with his wife? Or does he fondly remember his days as a lawyer arguing cases in court? Well, in stanza 6 here, right, he's saying that he was arguing with his wife, which is what made his jaw so strong. And he's kind of making a joke out of the fact that, like, oh, yeah, I took to the law and I would argue the cases with my wife, and all that arguing and with her is what made my jaw so strong. And now I'm able to, eat anything. So he's kind of making a joke of that, and that when he was, maybe a lawyer, that he would argue the cases with his wife, and kind of making light of that. So he's making a joke that he argued with his wife, which made his jaw super strong. So how does the young man's attitude change towards Father William in our stanza 7? He said, you're old. One would hardly suppose that your eye was as steady as ever. Yet you balanced an eel at the end of your nose. What made you so awfully clever? Did he go from curious to disinterested? So in the beginning, he's curious and now he doesn't care. He went from sorrow to joy. In the beginning, he's sad and now he's like excited and happy. He was cautious and now he's bold. Or in the beginning, he was kind of mocking him or like making fun and teasing him. And now he's kind of like admiring him, like, wow, how did you do that? But I think in the beginning, he was definitely kind of, mocking him, making fun of him. You're too old to be doing that. Your hair is too gray. You're not strong enough. And now he's kind of like, wait, you balanced an eel on the end of your nose? Huh. How did you manage to do that? So he went from mockery at the beginning to admiration at the end. Click next. As the poem progresses, how does Father William feel about the young man's questions? So in the beginning, right, he's kind of answering his questions, doesn't seem too bothered, right? But as it goes on, then here he's kind of like calling him out. You keep going, and he's kind of starting to get frustrated with him, right? And he gets kind of really annoyed with him here in this last area. Give yourself airs, be off, or I'll kick you downstairs, right? He got really frustrated with him at the end. So is he proud, interested, puzzled, or annoyed? I think definitely by the end, Father William's quite annoyed by all of these questions, that he shouldn't have to be, backing up what he's able to do or justifying to his son the choices that he makes. For your last question, the message or theme of this poem, so what is the lesson that we're trying to learn, is to always respect your elders and be polite, that young people ask too many questions, don't underestimate what older people can do, or old people have all the answers. I think that the best theme or message would be that, we might have ideas about what we think an older person should be doing, but don't underestimate them, right? This Father William, he can still do many things from his youth. And with his son questioning him, he let him know that you should not be underestimating him based on his age. Click done and next. And I believe that was your last one. If you have any questions, reach out to your classroom teacher or resource teachers. Have a great day, guys.